Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring you this semi-final matchup of the ESWC, the Game 2. I bring you Grubby from Team Grubby. He's in the green trunks playing Protoss to the northeast versus his opponent, Mousesports Mana. He is in the red trunks and he is playing Protoss to the northwest. Well, well, well. That last game was interesting. The Phoenix play from Grubby was... well, it was quite effective, and it put him ahead for a while anyway. The problem is that that engagement was really messy for him on his natural. He did not do well there at all. He also lost a lot of Phoenixes when Mana was able to blink up and snipe them off. So no Phoenix energy was available to deal with the Immortals that did a massive amount of damage to that Nexus. If he was able to lift those Immortals up, then he may have had a better engagement. Also, Grubby was focusing fire on stationary Zealots, which I don't really know why I was doing that, but yeah. Mana was able to win that engagement, and that was the GG at that point. And we'll see what happens from both these players' gateways at the appropriate time, as you would expect. First few minutes of a PvP tend to be very, very similar. Tal'Darim, interesting map for PvP, very large. Also, always the possibility of 3 bases. Ooh, I know, it's kind of scary. I think we've seen at least one PvP. Yeah, MC versus Mana went to 3 bases, which is not very common. Not at all. Now, Grubby and Mana know exactly where their opponent is at the moment. And I don't expect to see any... ooh, lag. Yep, I have a feeling that there's issue with one of the streamers. Unpleasant lag. Yep, there's a lot of money on the line for this. I'm sorry. The problem is he can't talk to the players because he's not a referee. Sorry, Maury, but there's a ton of money on the line for this, so lag is not acceptable. Alright. Anyway, back to what we were doing before. Mana with a little bit of poking action. Don't expect to see any difference in build orders whatsoever until the Stalker comes out. Simply. Whoa. Kaldor lagging now. What the balls? Either Battle.net is having some serious issues, or... I don't know. Oh well, whatever the case, Mana still poking in there. Grubby grabbing a second assimilator. Useful information for Mana to have. Grubby is going to skip the Zealot as well. He's going to go straight for the Stalker as soon as the Cybercore goes up. As soon as his gas counting may even go for a sentry, he's going to put down a second gateway. And then get that Stalker out. And in the meantime... Grubby's probe simply been sitting in Mana's base, keeping an eye on things. Needs to get out there before the Stalker comes. Only a single assimilator for him. That second gateway so early is interesting for Grubby. I wonder what he's planning on doing with that. There are some 2-gate Colossus builds that can be done on one base. You never know. Well, let's find out one way or the other from these guys. Second gateway coming up. Let's keep an eye on the amount of resources available. There's the second grab on the assimilator. Sentry on the way out for Grubby. Mineral count is getting high, can be indicative of an expansion. No gateway added when he could potentially have added it. But a double chrono boost right there on the sentry. This is interesting. And then adding a third gateway. Intriguing. At this stage, it's a little odd to use the chrono boost on sentries. And for instance, he hasn't gotten his warp gate out yet, but I suppose if he doesn't believe that he needs it so early, then, hey, why not get a few units out a bit quicker? Start sinking that gas into something. The question is, what does he tech to from here? His mineral count's starting to get high, but that's mostly because of the build time of these units. Robotics to follow that one up. No sign of an expansion yet, so... either it's going to be some kind of 2-gate Immortal push, or we're looking for Colossus on one base. In the meantime, Mana with 3 gates. His army composition primarily consisting of Stalkers and Sentry. Warp Gate up for both. Mana also mining gas from both of those assimilators. The question is, what can Mana do from here? Still not showing any signs of expansion, neither of these guys. He's going to put down a robotics of his own. That's quite behind Grubby's. In the meantime, Mana rolling out with a fairly significant force of Stalkers. He's got 5 versus these 4 sentries and a couple of Stalkers there for Grubby. Grubby's going to have to be a little bit careful. And Grubby's going to Chrono Boost out an Immortal as well. So it looks like it's going to be now a 3-gate with Immortals. He's going to need it as well, because Mana's now engaging with 5 Stalkers. Mana not willing to go for it, though, simply because of the risk of being force fielded and killed by Zealots. Yep, just like that. Nicely done there by Grubby. Unfortunately blocking his own sentry in there, but we can forgive him for that. Meantime, a probe coming in just for the hell of it. Sacrificial probe for whatever reason. Probe count, by the way, is currently in favor of Mana. Grubby has actually cut probes. Not building any more. Mana is continuing to build them. And of course, if he continues to build them, then that will indicate that he's going to expand. Whatever the case, Twilight Council coming up for both realizing Blink Stalkers are perhaps a good idea. There's the expansion for Grubby now to follow that one up. Not building so many units anymore. In fact, not warping in any for the time being. Another Immortal on the way up for him. He can do a little bit of poking and prodding. Mana's not going to want to engage here. He's going to see this coming and immediately dash off. Doesn't want to go up against that Immortal. Always nice to see Immortals coming into play just a little bit more thanks to their range increase. Always felt they were a little bit underused. Not as underused as some reasons. Whoa, a bit of pause there. God, lag is bad in games like this. I think it just comes down to the number of casters. Not so good. What I will do, incidentally, if my stream is lagging, is I will just stop the cast and then we can just have Kaldor do it. Anyway. Gateway to follow that one up for Mana. There's the blink. Grubby with a time advantage in terms of his blink. We'll see if he decides to go for any kind of timing push with that. Stalker count really not high enough to justify it, in my opinion. He's still only on 3 gates as well, so even if he warps in proxy, he's only going to have 7 Stalkers. So, perhaps not so keen about that. Observer on the way out for Grubby as well. Wants to know what his opponent's doing. Both are just secure on their expansions here. Mana with the Observer, he actually knows exactly what's happening. Has he seen... He hasn't seen the Twilight Council yet. He's got to suspect it, however. There's an Observer there in a nice position. It's like, oh, look. It's going to be Observer Wars again. Oh, my. Kaldor lagging out. Not so good. Not so good. I really hope he's able to get that fixed. Let's have a look at what Mana's got. Army supply count. 43 for Mana. 39 for Grubby. Tense at the moment. Ooh, Grubby sneaking over there. He's not going to be able to outrun that Stalker, however. Now, I would imagine Mana's just going to try and blink into the natural here. Bypass that line, do some damage. Raid this mineral line, then get out of there. That said, there is also this area. He can go all the way into the main here. Grubby is realizing there's a threat perhaps to the natural, but Mana is not going to go for the main either. Very, very tense moment. Both of these guys confront, and there's the raid. Mana going for that mineral line, and Grubby in the wrong place at the wrong time. The entire mineral line is forced to pull back. Several probes killed. Traded for a Stalker. That's 8 workers killed by Mana. That knocks Grubby down significantly. Grubby was able to get his expansion up earlier, but that has equalized it, and now Mana has a slight lead in terms of probe count. 2 more gateways being added on for Grubby. Both of these guys just trying to size each other up at the moment. Now, where's that Observer? Is it in position? Can he get up there? Yes, he can. Grubby is defending the natural and not the main. However, Mana's decision to kill that pylon means that Grubby is now pulling back. There's a little bit of a supply block there for Grubby, only for a couple of seconds, however. Nice blink there by Grubby, able to grab that Observer. And now, of course, there's no threat of blinking up there for the moment. 2 observers out on the field for Grubby and none for Mana. So Mana flying blind just a little bit here. Building another observer of his own. Forge coming up for Grubby as well. Upgrades aplenty. And here's an engagement right here in the middle. Nice little bit of sentry work. He's able to take out several Stalkers. That makes Grubby's force now slightly smaller than Mana's. 2 Immortals on either side. This Forge is what might make the difference, however. If Grubby's able to start getting that rolling. Mana's had enough, however. You can see Robotics Bay on the way. I'm going to turn this into a little bit of a War of the Worlds. And of course, once Colossi come out, really the answer is to build more goddamn Colossi. Mana able to pick off an observer there. There is a second one. It's not in Grubby's base, however. It's accompanying Grubby's force. He wants to try and pick off an observer of his own. And we're going to get another engagement here over this Xel'Naga Watchtower. Proxy pylon in place for Warpins. Will he be able to go in? Grubby's going for it. Guardian shields have been deployed. Here come the sentries. And a mass blink back there by Grubby. Zealot's taking some of the fire from the front there, but an inconclusive engagement overall. Army size is absolutely equal right now. 2 Immortals on either side. It's the Colossus that's going to make the difference, and Mana's going to build a second robotics facility to make that happen. Is this even going to end up going to 3 bases? You never know, it might. Grubby potentially looking for a raid here. Mana wants to try and cut him off. Observer eliminated. I think that takes the observer count killed 2 to 1. 49 probes on Mana's side right now, and 40 on Grubby's. An obvious economic advantage at the moment. +1 ground weapons is coming up, however. Grubby could get the edge here by doing that and pushing in while this ground weapons is researching. But here comes that Colossus, and this is where things start to change around. The tendency, of course, is for the Colossus of his own on the other Protoss side to come in, and that's exactly what's happening. Robotics Bay is quite behind, though. If Mana was able to push in with a Colossus and do big damage, then he'd be in a good situation. The problem is Grubby has a large Blink Stalker count, so 1 Colossus will die very fast. That makes me think that Mana will wait for several before he goes for it. He is now also producing off 2 robotics facilities, and Grubby is only just building his second. So he does have quite the lead in that regard. 1 Colossus will be out. Second Colossus is no doubt getting chrono boosted as we speak. But this engagement in the middle is what I'm interested in. Just poking and prodding. That Xel'Naga Tower still in the hands of Mana, but he has lost his proxy pylon. A little bit of a supply block for about 5 or 6 seconds. Can always make the difference in PvP. Just little things. Chrono boost going down on these Colossi. Mana knows that this is an edge that he can get. He knows that his opponent does not have them yet. 2 of his own coming in for Grubby. Level 2 weapon upgrade here. A little bit of a difference there. Very, very equal fight thus far. Grubby looks like he's actually going to take his third, if you can believe that. Yes, he is. No sign of that from Mana down here just yet. He might ninja expand. That's exactly what he's going to do. Avoid those rocks completely and instead go further down the map. It's probably a sensible idea. It's nice and easy to hide on a map of this size. Colossus coming on either side here. And at this point, it's where you get a massing of Colossus that it kind of becomes War of the Worlds. It's a match between who can blink their Stalkers most effectively to pick off the enemy's Colossus. Right now, I have to say, though, Mana has a really large advantage in Colossus count. If he's able to get in there before those other 2 Colossi come out, he's going to do big damage. Colossus will take about 20 seconds. Mana trying to poke at that Nexus, maybe try and draw his opponent out of position. Grubby's not going to have that, though. And here comes the engagement. 4 Colossi versus 2. This is a big deal right here. You can't even fit the size of this battle on the screen. Colossus doing a ton of damage. Blink Stalkers right here from Grubby, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Those Colossus just completely outnumber it. A nicely timed attack there by Mana. G to the G. There you go, folks.